When people first come to me, they're not tired, they're stuck. Burnout isn't just a bad week, it's a neurological shutdown. It's what happens when your brain no longer sees possibilities, and that means we have no options. It's what happens when we think convergently, like a racehorse with blinders on. Our world has closed in on us. I call it the hamster wheel effect. We go round and round without seeing any possibility of getting off that wheel. Clients come in saying, I can't sleep. I'm snapping at people I care about. I'm successful, but I feel completely hollow. All is not lost. We just need a reboot. 70% of professionals report burnout in their current job, and many of these people have experienced it repeatedly. Among entrepreneurs, the number is even higher, as it is for millennials, because there's no off switch when you're carrying the vision. Burnout erodes our most valuable capacities, our decision making, our emotional intelligence, our creativity, and ultimately our ability to connect with others and with ourselves. We can't sleep, we can't focus, and we push away those very people who could be of help to us. Gone untreated, serious burnout can have a fatal conclusion. Spherical thinking is how we move from collapse to clarity. It's a neural rewiring process that engages your analytical and creative mind. So we can stop cycling through those old thinking patterns, get off that hamster wheel if you like, and start expanding our range of perception. I say rewiring because it relies on thinking processes that we all once used when we were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. I'm sure you don't remember those too clearly, but I spent a lot of time with my granddaughters when they were very, very young, and every day they came to me with some new thing they had found, some new piece of life's great puzzle with which they were trying to make sense of their world. As if they had another piece of the jigsaw puzzle and they were trying to fit it into the pieces they already had. Sometimes they'd try to fit it with other pieces that weren't quite exactly right. The process is creative thinking, and it requires that we think divergently. There is no box lid. You have to look at all the options as to where to put the new puzzle piece. Recovering from burnout requires us to substitute this divergent worldview for the convergent one that our analytical, deductive world has created for us. It's not about working harder. It's about thinking in more directions, creating new neural pathways. Interestingly, those divergent neural pathways are the same ones we use when we are thinking emotionally intelligently. And they are also associated with being happier. It's a triple whammy. I want you to close your eyes for a second. Now imagine a moment when you were thinking something creative. Try and find a recent activity or thought that was a novel solution or idea, maybe a sea change in your work or home life, or a new recreation or other activity. Now contrast that with how you think when you're feeling overwhelmed. You've just visualized using 2 different neural states. This is how we begin rewiring. This is how we start the comeback. We blend neuroscience with lived experience. You're not weak. Your brain has just had an update, a reboot. Together, we build one. Burnout isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of our reinvention. Not just for you, but for your team, your business, your impact, your relationships. And the creation of new patterns of thinking carries with it powerful and positive changes. As you might imagine from the phrase creative thinking, we become more innovative. And this leads to having many more options. Back in 1939, when advertising executive Alex Osborne invented brainstorming, He fondly believed that it would magnify the number of new ideas that his team would create by a factor of around 10. He spent the rest of his life attempting to figure out why this was not the case. It transpired that if you took each individual in a 6-person brainstorming team and had them create ideas individually, you would get more novel ideas than when they brainstormed together. Now imagine what life would be like if everyone thought creatively, as a matter of course. I'll give you one example. When Toyota started their employee suggestion program back in 1951, employees were not given any training or direction, but there were 789 ideas entered into the system that first year. It grew steadily over the next 15 years until the number of annual suggestions in 1967 exceeded 20,000. In the next 2 years, after some creative thinking guidance, this doubled. So in 1969 you were talking 40,000, and then in 1970 you were talking around 50,000 suggestions. When you learn to think in new dimensions with new neural pathways, you unlock a whole new system of thinking. You unlock a future with no spreadsheet can predict. I'm going to give you some ideas as to how to get going with this process. First, this is not the process for resolving fully fledged burnout. This is a simple technique for gaining the other benefits from creative thinking, and it does help you guard against extreme anxiety and burnout. Start on your own with a few small incremental changes in your everyday life. Take a new route to work and actively see the new surroundings it takes you through. As much as you can safely, of course, while you're driving to work. Try something different on the menu if you go to your usual dinner spot, or even try a different restaurant. Make yourself a different beverage when you wake up in the morning, rather than aiming towards the K-cup. Plan new activities with the family for next weekend. Maybe a picnic instead of going to the mall. Get with family and friends to discuss new recreational activities. But most importantly, during your routine activities at home and at work, really examine each and question how and why you're doing it. Could it be done differently? Maybe the introduction of AI could help reduce your workload. Sometimes we establish routines for a particular purpose and then continue them even when the original goal has been met. Now, all this could be exhausting at first. Creative thinking uses very different processes than the ones we use for our automated cognitive processes that we use for repetitive activities. We don't often think about thinking as an energy-consuming activity, but these new processes can use as much energy as going for a stroll for the same amount of time. You can expand on these ideas in many ways. When you see something strange or funny, take 10 minutes and write something about it. This can be a great opportunity to develop creative thinking patterns. Charles Darwin did a great job of mapping out how we evolved from the primordial ooze to where we are now. But having opposable thumbs does not explain the iPhone, the internet, or the jet engine. Creativity is not a recreation or something Aunt Dottie did when she retired and bought a paint box. It is the source of our social evolution and something we all once had. Let's rekindle creative thinking together.